Are you ready?
Here's Bryce, rolling out.
You think you could tell us what to wear?
Time to heave it deep.
Well, you better get ready.
Throws it shy of the goal line, and that ball is tipped around and caught.
Wow!
Caught. Oh, that's a touchdown!
Wow!
Break it down!
Welcome to the College Football X.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of the College Football X. That's right. It's the X Factor. You can call it whatever you want. Degeneration X. X marks the spot. Whatever.
As long as you like and share it.
Mm-hmm. But we are here to talk college football, the week that was, the week ahead, looking ahead at the following week, and some news and notes and a few other odd things that have happened in the world of college football since we last visited. In the second half of the show, like I said, we'll talk about the upcoming week, preview some of the big games, tell you what you need to know, and get you prepared for another busy Saturday of college football.
Yep.
But first, the week that was. And guys, I would talk about the top-ranked teams in action first, but I don't think we could start any conversation this week without talking about what the heck happened at the end of the game in Boone, North Carolina, in front of a, put it mildly, raucous crowd revved up by several hours of ESPN's game day beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
And App State wins the game on the Hail Mary of Hail Marys, a walk-off touchdown win for the Mountaineers over Troy.
72-year-old Chase Bryce at quarterback, Marty.
That was almost a Hail Mary hook and ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's why they practice the tip drill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw it in action right there.
And he walked right in.
And all of a
That was
sudden, it's
amazing.
in somebody's hands. Oh, I think I'll run around the mass of people for a touchdown.
And the presence of mind of the one wide receiver, too, when he noticed to his left that the ball had been caught, works his way around to the right and tries to have that block to seal the corner so the wide receiver can make his way into the end zone.
That was the first thing I thought, not the guy that caught the tip, but the dude that had the presence of mind to just get in there and get hands on somebody so he can get in the end zone.
Oh,
Nice.
Cut the corner.
That was pretty impressive. And what was interesting to me is coming off a week before where they went down to College Station and basically pounded Texas A&M into the ground. Appalachian State nearly got beat by Troy, who's not a bad team, but I don't know that they're necessarily Texas A&M level team.
No.
Yeah, but it's hard to fight having a letdown after such a physical week where you're up so high. It's hard to get up for another game after something that big.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that had to have some of the best signs of the season during that game day.
Yeah,
there was
the
best one I saw. A lot of people thought the one where the guy had the check, the supersized check was good.
Clark,
but
yeah.
Somebody had one where it had the mascot from App State, and it said the only ATM and had the logo across it that you can withdraw 1.5 million from. I thought that was my favorite that I saw all weekend.
Well, and then you've got the folks that were there that were, I guess, Nebraska fans that were chanting about wanting Urban Meyer as their new head coach in Lincoln. You don't want that. He doesn't want you unless he's going to get like an $11 no-cut.
That rumor was started Saturday, but it's also been dismissed. And that he has no coaching plans and that he plans on staying at Fox. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Urban's Chop House in Columbus, where they had that video from, but
yeah, that's a separate conversation in a different segment here.
You don't want to put hands on that one.
With App State.
Yeah, no.
3 games so far this year. The first one, they lost 63-61 to North Carolina. The second game, they go down to College Station and beat Texas A&M. And then the third game, this. How crazy has their season been? They're not even a top 25 team. They're 2-1.
But when you're the shiny object, then of course people are going to gravitate toward you. And I think they called it the Game Day Showdown or the Game Day Classic, one of the two, for the pre-order T-shirts. If you go on the App State website and go into their shop or their store, and you can pre-order the Game Day Classic / Showdown T-shirt, and it's the matchup, the matchup T-shirt where you have the two helmets and they're going up, they're facing each other. I'm wondering if they're going to produce Miracle on the Mountain Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
And have that as your next T-shirt, and good luck keeping that one in stock. I will buy it. It will be behind us on subsequent shows. No lie. I mean, if Duquesne had beaten Hawaii on the island for the late game, I'm sure the Dukes would have come up with a T-shirt, and I'd probably buy that one too.
Yeah, it's all about marketing these days.
Hey, if South Florida had hung on to beat Florida, I'm sure USF would have printed a T-shirt, and I would have bought that one. Exactly. All of these folks that have these marketing opportunities that were, the only one I wouldn't have bought is if Missouri State, and I know that Wilkie would have, and feel better, please, sir.
Yes.
If Missouri State had hung on to beat Arkansas, the Petrino Bowl, when there'd probably be a picture of either a motorcycle or a toilet or something. I don't.
Oh, they would have had a freaking field day though with the marketing there, because think about it, those jokes just write themselves.
Yep, and then Missouri State would have printed the T-shirt if they would have hung on, and I would have not have bought that one unless I was buying it for Wilkie for Festivus. That would be the only.
Oh yeah. If you didn't, I would have.
Yeah.
Really, that was the excitement. That probably was the most exciting game of the weekend by a pretty large margin, due to the fact that there weren't a whole boatload of exciting games.
Well, you had a lot of close calls, but the top 25s, you didn't.
Everybody won.
Yeah, but you go down below that. Wake had to survive a 2-point conversion try by Liberty to hang on 37-36. Texas San Antonio had the lead early at Darrell Royal against Texas. And I know that we're going to talk about coaches. Southern Illinois upset Northwestern 31-24. And you got to wonder what's going on with Northwestern. And we're down 17-14 after 3. And Syracuse, I think.
Northwestern's only good like every third or fourth year, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they might be the Brett Saberhagen of the B1G. Yeah, good year, bad year, good year,
They're
bad.
good on even years.
Yes.
Well, and actually, there was one minor upset in the top 25, but I don't know that I don't know if it was an upset or Michigan State was just really highly overrated.
What I want to know is, on the coaches poll, how's Michigan State ranked ahead of the team that just crushed them?
That's what I'm saying. How did they get to be number 11?
The ADs, the coaches that voted on that one, they turned them in early.
That's the only explanation. Granted, Washington's much, much, much better than they were last season, with Michael Penix Jr., formerly of Indiana, now at quarterback for them.
That kid's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could play some ball, and he balled out against Michigan State. And he went, 24 for 40, 397, and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. And legitimately, I heard someone in the national media sit there and say, I don't know who this Michael Penix Jr. is. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I literally heard somebody in the national media say that when they were running highlights. I have no idea who this Michael Penix Jr. is.
I hope you're not naming names for a reason.
No, it's just, I'm like, what? Do your homework. People.
He's been good on a bad team for years.
Exactly. He's been good on a bad team. He leaves the B1G, goes to Washington, puts up this kind of.
He had to sit out a year when he blew out his knee in Indiana, and he comes back. He's better than he was when he left.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. Apparently, they do that. They do have that with the Husky Navy. But
speaking of transfer portal, that kid from Toledo that was their entire offense.
Oh,
holy cow!
He's going to be sought after slightly. And
no joke.
This was the primetime game. Oh, Daquan Finn, 223 total yards of offense, passing and rushing, 10 of 19 for 153, 2-1, 7 for 7 in a touchdown. So he threw for 2 and ran for 1.
Yeah, he had 21. Toledo had nothing, and Ohio State had 77.
Yeah. And this was the primetime game on Big FOX.
That was
That's strictly because they didn't have any better options.
Come on, programmers. Come up with better options now when it comes to life in the B1.
I didn't get to see that game, but that would explain how
Now-
they got their 21 points.
well. You also have to cash that on. They sat 4 safeties on a 3 safety defense. The starting 2 were out, and then 2 other guys were dinged up. They didn't, since they're about to go into Big Ten play, they sat them, and then they had 1 corner leave after the first quarter.
Yeah, but that game was never in question. Another, I guess you could call it an upset, although I don't know that I would call it an upset. Oregon beating number 12 BYU 41-20. Granted, Oregon didn't exactly wow anybody their first week or really the second week, even though they did win their game.
Oh, quick impression, Bo Nix.
Yeah, but he played really well this game. Well, it's typical Bo Nix. One bad, one mediocre, and one good.
He's the 3 bears of quarterbacking.
Yeah. He covers
The game we went to together, it was the bad bear.
Absolutely.
he covers all 3 bases for you.
Yeah. And a lot of folks just want him to go home.
Small, medium, and large.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that Autzen Stadium carries its own juju sometimes. And when you're a team like, when you're a visiting team, you already, in some instances, I think that you're already down 3 or 7 going in. And BYU just did not, they didn't.
There was a shocking amount of BYU fans there.
They travel.
There was a lot of blue.
They travel, and I firmly believe that they also are more than happy to go on the secondary market and make sure that they're taking full advantage of capitalism that is in play. Jaron Hall, 29 of 41, 305 and 2. They only had 61 yards rushing, and it took them a while. And the thing is, BYU also scored 13 of their 20 points in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, you had Oregon was up 38-7 after 3. So this one was over and done. It was over and done a long time before, and they were stifled. And Bo Nix was good. Bo Nix and threw for 222 and 2. They had balanced offense, 212 rushing, 227 net passing. So that's what you're looking for at home. And I think that BYU at 12 was probably slightly overrated. And I think that you're looking at an Oregon team at 25 that was underrated, not by much, but I think that there's probably some mean of the 2 of them hanging around 17 or 18.
Hey, real quick, one last game I want to talk about before we go to the first break here in the show.
Right.
And that has to do with our friend Leopold.
Coach of the year, baby.
Lance Leopold has transformed Kansas in the matter of 3 games to being from national laughingstock to at least a pretty solid team, it seems like.
Ass kicker. Good for him. Absolutely good for him.
A nice win by the Jayhawks, 48-30 over Houston at Houston. The Jayhawks are 3-0.
When was the last time they had a winning season?
The last time they were 3-0 was 2009.
So Mangino.
Yeah, for Mangino.
Youngstown guy.
Wow. But no.
I'm not saying that they're going to win the Big 12 or anything like that this year, but
no.
Somebody
they're
has
already
to.
halfway to a bowl game berth.
Yeah, they are halfway to a bowl game. Now, all right, so let's go ahead and project it out now that you've teased the whole thing. So let's see who gets to their schedule first as I continue to scroll and see if I can find it. I want to see how many more wins they have on their schedule.
They've got Duke this coming week.
Okay, that's a tight one, perhaps.
In basketball.
Duke, Iowa, then they get in the conference schedule. Iowa State, TCU, both at home. They go on the road. Well, here's where they're probably going to stumble.
Yeah.
Once we get into October, you're talking about, TCU at home, then at Oklahoma, at Baylor, home versus Okie State, at Texas Tech, and Texas at home.
Ooh.
They're not going to run that table. I don't think anybody's thinking that they will.
No, but if they get the Duke against Duke, that's 4. So then you need 2 of the remaining, and so it might be Lubbock and it might be Apple Cup.
Yeah, because Kansas State right now is not good.
So what you're looking for is a win next week as we tease the next segment. 12 o'clock noon on FS1. Okay, so it's an early kickoff. Duke might be a little shaky out of the blocks. We'll see how they are. Yeah, I would say probably at home against TCU, in Lubbock in November, and then Thanksgiving weekend at Kansas State for Apple Cup. So, and did you guys see the fight between the 2 receivers for Houston?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
It was Kansas was up 28-14, and one of the receivers I think had committed a silly penalty. Another receiver is coming off the field, literally goes to him and just gives the 2-hand shove and starts going after him right there on the sidelines, and they had to be separated by players and coaches. That's what Lance Leipold does to you people. He forces your receivers to fight one another.
Can you get a penalty for hitting your own teammate?
It was off the field. It wasn't in the field of play.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to call on sportsmanlike conduct on yourself, I would just nah.
How do you get penalized for that?
I mean, that's the thing for me. It's like, how do you get penalized for something like that when you decide to do it to yourself? It's like when we were kids, when it's like, when the bully of the block, he's kind of sitting there, your brother grabs your arm and, he's doing this bit and he's going, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. That's what happened with Houston with on the sidelines when they're down 14 to Kansas. They were hitting themselves.
On that note, guys, I think it's a good time for us to head to the first quarter break. When we come back from quarter number 2, we're going to talk a little bit about the coaching carousel and hot seats because 3 weeks into the season already there's change in the air at least one historical program and quite possibly a couple others with some long tenured history. That and more when we return for the X. You are listening to the X on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
If you're a veteran looking to file for your service-connected benefits through the Department of Veterans Affairs, don't go it alone. AMVET's highly trained service officers stand ready to walk you through the process at VA regional offices around the country, helping you to navigate the complex VA system free of charge. With new presumptions for Agent Orange exposure and other conditions, AMVETS can offer you the advice you need to finally receive all of your earned benefits. In 2009 alone, AMVETS helped process more than 65,000 claims and appeals, securing more than $410 million in benefits. To find your nearest AMVET service officer or to learn more, visit amvets.org.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. It's time for the second quarter, also known as the hot seat section. This is the part where we talk about coaching changes in large part because, we had a lot of changes already. One of them had to do with my alma mater. Last week, where we weren't able to do a show, unfortunately, the Georgia Southern Eagles marched down to Nebraska and put let's just say an ass whooping on the Cornhuskers, and that followed almost immediately thereafter by the departure of Mr. Scott Frost, costing a Nebraska head coach and yet another year in their never-ending rebuilding program.
Costing them $7 million because they couldn't wait 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't you just sit there and say, dude, go mow the yard? The campus needs to have its grass mowed. Go do that. Just do stuff. And you put him on the sidelines on game day, but his headset doesn't work. And it's like you give the impression that his headset actually is a functioning headset and he's just yelling into it and people aren't responding to him. And it's like, dude, no, mail run. You gotta deliver things to all the other buildings on campus. That's how pissed they were. They wanted to get rid of it 3 weeks early. It's like, here's $16 million, go away.
Yeah, we don't want you here.
That'd be nice, just for somebody who wants to sit there and just say, here's $16 million, go away.
Here's an extra 7 because they didn't wait 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he reworked his contract knowing he's going to get fired this year just to be amiable with his alma mater. And
Oh my God.
they still just axe him.
I'm guessing that Trev Alberts, the athletic director, didn't want to listen to the people complaining to him for the next 3 weeks. It's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're going to all of a sudden flip a switch and become a better football team because he's gone.
I was going to say, rest of the season's going to be rinse and repeat.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, they also fired their defensive coordinator after getting destroyed by Oklahoma this week.
Well, yeah. I mean, you gave up mid-40s, you give up mid-40s, and then you give up border war. I mean,
Yeah.
Who doesn't give up mid-40s in the Big 12?
Yeah.
true. Absolutely true.
48-40 games, 48-41,
Yeah, why the hell?
41-38.
Yes, exactly.
They're not going to have defense till Cincinnati gets here.
That's true. Absolutely true.
Some other coaches already starting to feel the heat because, well, it's college football, and that's kind of what we do when coaches or teams don't have good starts to their season. Here in the home of the OSG, the Metro Atlanta area, some voices already starting to sound louder and louder, calling for the head of Georgia Tech head coach Jeff Collins, who inherited a really, really bad situation, but he hasn't exactly made it any better.
Won the press conference and has gone 0 for the ACC ever since.
Yeah, didn't he let that quarterback go to Toledo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He started well. He looked kind of good. I'm just saying.
And lost his best running back this past year to Alabama, Jahmyr Gibbs.
That should tell you something right there. Your best running back at Georgia Tech, pride of Dalton High School, Jahmyr Gibbs,
Was now the best running back at Alabama.
Yeah, it's amazing what a system and success will do. Gibbs goes to Alabama, gets as far the hell away from Jeff Collins as possible.
No, that would require him going to Hawaii.
That's true. Well, that program could improve also. But
yeah, but I was just talking about pure mileage.
Oh, I know. And it's you got 5 time zones to go from one end of the world to the other. Yeah, Jeff Collins. I mean, in folks that I have had college football discussions with, the 5-letter word that's associated with Jeff Collins is fraud. Fans of college football have called Jeff Collins a fraud. Like I said, won the press conference and has said all the right things and smiled and gone to Waffle House and all that kind of stuff. 2/3 of his rosters from the state of Georgia, but this is square peg round hole. It does not fit. It has not been a success. And I have heard Prime is being thought of. It's like there's some groundswell of wanting Prime to come from Jackson State to go to Georgia Tech. Don't do it.
Wanting and reality are two different things.
Don't do it.
He's not leaving Jackson State.
He should not. No, he can be a power for years in FCS and run.
That's the whole reason he went there.
And,
you shouldn't want him. He's just a car salesman.
But it's just, I mean, it's, he can be the top coach in FCS. If he comes into FBS, he becomes an also-ran.
Every time they say his name, I just think of that fiasco of a high school that he had here.
Yeah, but he's not
that everybody seems to forgot about, and like all the money that went missing.
Yeah,
he's not leaving the HBCU world. That's the ground he kind of put his stake in, and he's not leaving it. Georgia Tech better hope for an up-and-coming FCS coach or D2 coach, because it's not that appealing of a draw, despite their somewhat storied history.
If you're a local.
Yeah.
Nobody else remembers it, though.
Brian Bohannon from Kennesaw State. Would Bohannon want to come down I-75?
Former assistant
program.
In some ways it would make some sense, but he might actually have it better where he currently is.
And that's what I would maintain. I think that he is large and in charge there at Kennesaw State. I wouldn't want to come down I-75 and try to work on that program. I mean, you're looking at, all right, so let's see, FCS top 25. Let's just look at the top 25 teams in the last FCS poll. Let's see, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, none of them are moving. Petrino's not leaving Missouri State. Incarnate Word, no. Villanova,
Katrina will leave Southwest Missouri State, but not for Georgia Tech.
right. Villanova, Sac State, Delaware, UTC. Prime is at number 11. Weber, Holy Cross, Eastern Washington, William and Mary. I'm buzzing down the list, and I'm seeing no. I mean, Kennesaw State's 23rd in the country right now. Mercer's at number 20. I see no. No. If I'm in any of those FCS coaches, I am not NAWT, not leaving my school to go to Georgia Tech.
Marty, is this the home for a rising coordinator looking for his first head coaching job?
Going to have to be. Absolutely, it's going to have to be. If you're an established coach in 1AA, and I just dated myself with that reference.
Yeah, you did.
If you're top 25, I'm not taking those gigs because I can do what I've done in my gig and be more comfortable and be in control of my situation. It's going to have to be.
And you can have a down year and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's going to have to be one of those hot shot coordinators, Marty.
That or a reclaim like Tom Herman, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
He was a good coordinator. He did good in Houston, and then down to Texas, you're playing the other team and you're playing the alumni.
There's lots of good number twos out there. It's not so easy to be a number one. And yes, I said it that way intentionally.
Yes.
Poop emoji.
You did.
But somebody like Herman might not be bad because he wants another shot at a real college, and they need somebody because you're not going to attract anybody with the way they've been running offense down there.
Well, It's not even that. They've opened up the offense. They don't have the money.
That's also true.
They haven't successfully opened up the offense.
Yeah.
That's a place where wide receivers would go to die before.
Part of the struggle that they've had on the flats is they've been trying to transition out of what they ran for years under Paul Johnson, which is that flexbone offense. And they haven't been, I don't know if it's been the coaches, I don't know if it's been the players that are recruiting, but they've really struggled to get guys that could play big boy major, late 2020, circa 2020 college football.
The biggest thing is, and you would think that the portal would help in this regard, especially with outbound and inbound, is that you could purge the old guard faster because of the portal, but that hasn't happened. It's only happened with the marquee individuals in the program, C. Gibbs, Jameer. And you're looking for. I mean, when Jeff Collins broke out 3 wide and a tailback at his first spring game inside Bobby Dodd, everybody went nuts. But you don't have the personnel to match up, and you're trying to get rid of the personnel that's there that was used to flexbone, or integrate them into old roles that they may have had in high school. That's a transition in and of itself. Then you add the portal and everybody wanting to escape because of a lack of success or playing time, and this is a recipe for disaster at Georgia Tech.
Look at you done. Look at what my alma mater's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia Southern went from being that offensive team running that flex bone to being the up-tempo, throw the ball 50 times a game, run a no-huddle offense team like that.
Yeah, because you found the personnel that fit. You've got a quarterback like Kyle Van Treese who can run that offense. And I think it's easier in Go 5 schools than it might be in Power 5s to try to have those transitions happen a lot sooner. And you brought in a guy like Clay Helton, who is a successful Power 5 coach until USC wanted to get rid of him when he wasn't successful.
And Brian Ellis to coordinate the offense.
Right, and that's the key. You've got to have the coordinator to match the personnel, to understand the personnel, so you can get done what you want to do. You're seeing that at Southern with that transition from hambone, flexbone to traditional, and at Georgia Tech, it just has not happened.
And it's easier as a group of 5 because you tend not to lose as many of your own guys because you're not getting picked over by the big boys.
Yes,
and seeing like a lot of these teams that turn around, it's usually the G5 schools that do, because they can grab a kid that was like the 4th string at Alabama. They can grab somebody else that was at another school that was in the middle somewhere that was okay there. Like for Toledo, they grabbed a quarterback. they grabbed Dallas Gant as a grad transfer, and he's like the star of their defense, and he couldn't sniff the field, prior to that. It's a lot easier to do it there at Georgia Tech. There's a level of expectation, so that you're more likely to lose the guys that you have there than you are at those G5 schools.
Yep.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but we've got a couple minutes remaining before we hit to halftime. One other coach who I think may be done, if not now, within the next couple weeks, on the plains at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Harsin, I think it's
Oh my God.
much like every other head coach that Auburn hires. It's not when, or not if, it's only when.
Yeah.
And I think the when part from Mr. Harsin may be coming here within the next couple of weeks, if not this coming week.
Yeah.
They looked outmanned, outgunned, outcoached,
Awful.
out everything when Penn State came to town and just absolutely beat the dog poop out of them.
Yes.
They got dog walked.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Checking the buyout for Harsin. Checking. It looks like it is, according to the terms of the deal, firing without cause means the university would owe him 70% of the remainder of his contract, making $5 million his first year's salary set to increase by $100,000 annually by January 1st. So he'd be owed 50% of the buyout within 30 days. And I think that's the key of knocking on Jimmy Rain's door. And it looks like if it's between Thanksgiving and New Year's, the buyout would be between $15 million and $15.3. So you're looking somewhere in between 15.3 and 18.2 is what the buyout would be. And I think that you're having folks literally knocking on Jimmy Rain's door, the Yellowwood guy. Hey, dude, can you help us cut a big check? Because
Damn.
yeah, when you've got fans leaving halfway through the third quarter in the SEC, when you're being embarrassed by a B1G team, that should tell you everything you need to know. The recruiting has been laissez-faire at best. I've still got to look and see. Traditionally, the roster is about 1/3 the state of Georgia. The recruiting was toward the bottom of the Southeastern Conference in level of success and ranking. And all of the glad handing and smiling and kissing of babies and shaking hands and grabbing wallets, he started doing that leading into this season instead of going into his first year. You also have an interim athletic director, since the athletic director that hired him, his contract was not renewed and basically was told, okay, Alan Green, go find another job. And apparently he was already looking for other work while he was still employed at Auburn University. So that's not a good sign either. You have a new university president who's a part of the frat, and who's a part of the university, graduate, went through the system and all of that, instructor and all of that stuff. You have an interim AD who's been a part of the athletic department for a while. So he's there to kind of stabilize things. And this is going to be.
There's no stability at Auburn.
As well, give it like a year or two per coach.
There's no stability there. It's the least stable coaching job in America.
Well, there are others, but in the Southeastern Conference, it's the weirdest dynamic that's there. But I want to see who they bring in for athletic director, because, and that's the key here. If you dispose of Brian Harsin, when you dispose of Brian Harsin, the interim athletic director is probably not going to make the choice for the new head coach. It is going to be someone on that staff for the remainder of the season. And then when you bring in the new AD will consult with the everybody else in the administration, with the university president, to try to bring in the new head coach. This will be a lost year for Auburn football, regardless of when Brian Harsin goes away, and you finish probably 4-8, 5-7, and don't go to a bowl.
So when's the transfer portal open, and when do they
December
get their athletic director?
Probably once the season's over, because I mean, unless you.
So the window opens when there's a whole lot of uncertainty.
Yes, and so unless you want to make the announcement,
I want to sell luggage at Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you have, if I'm The university, I make the announcement around Iron Bowl. You want to sit there and make the heavy impact. Hey, we're going into our rivalry game. We've got our new guy. And then you work it forward from there. So I'm guessing Thanksgiving is when you make your new announcement for your new hire.
Yeah, otherwise they're going to be playing Exodus by Bob Marley during halftime.
Yeah. And even if an editorial note here by me, even when they hire a new coach, that coach will be there for a few seasons. He'll have one season he's successful, and then the next season he's not, and he'll get fired because that's the Auburn way.
So when they pick the next guy, they're going to fire instead of hiring somebody.
That's wow. But I mean, I think he gets a bye with the purging of the old Harsin kids. He gets a recruiting cycle, gets 2 recruiting cycles. I'll say year 3. How about that?
Those kids are going to self-purge as soon as that window opens up, and if nobody's named by then,
they're going to portal.
Guys, let's take it to halftime here. We've talked long enough about the hot seat. When we come back in the second half of the show, we're going to preview the upcoming week, the things that you need to know ahead of the next big week in college football. And we're getting about to the point where things start changing and everybody starts jockeying for number 1. That and more when we return for the second half of the X. You are listening to the X on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
please like and subscribe.
It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Georgia's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Congratulations, you have made it to the second half of The X. This is the OSG Sports College Football Podcast, where we talk about everything that happened the week before, the week of, and the week looking ahead in college football. Guys, we got through a week of some what we thought were questionable games that ended up pretty interesting. I'm not so sure this week's going to be much better. Something that just jumped off the page to me, and I'm only mentioning it because of the competition that they're playing. The number 1 team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs, who have dominated everybody they played so far in the first 3 games of the week. Last week kicked off against South Carolina at noon. This week they kick off against Kent State at noon. How often do you see the number 1 team in the country get saddled with a couple of noon kickoffs?
When they play Kent and South Carolina, that's why. I think, well, and also you're saving them for later in the year when you get into conference play and cocktail party. I don't know if we can use that anymore. I don't care.
You can.
Well, the rivalry games that you want to save your order for. You want to save them for prime time, and I think that you have to. I think if I remember correctly, you have to show teams at least once in the primetime slots. And so you're saving Georgia for later because they're the top ranked team in the country. You want to backload your schedule with the top ranked teams and get everybody else out of the way.
Yeah, because I think you can only be on in the prime slot like 4 or 5 times a season.
Yeah.
There's some limits with the TV contract. The only other noon kickoff game that looks kind of remotely interesting to me.
Yeah.
Missouri and Auburn, and we just talked about Auburn in the second quarter. We're talking about 2 pretty bad SEC football teams right now, squaring off on the plains in Auburn.
Well, and
you'll actually be there, I believe, won't you?
That is accurate. Yeah. I mean, I thought you were going to mention Baylor and Iowa State in Ames.
No, I didn't. Curveball.
Yeah. Right now it's an even as we're talking, and the number's 45. I think we'll probably get to both, but it wouldn't surprise me if Iowa State got the Duke at Jack Trice. You're looking at Missouri and Auburn. Auburn right now is a 6.5. And I don't know. I legitimately do not know if they get to that 6.5. If they win, it's going to be tight. It's going to be low scoring. So take the under. The under might be the play as opposed to the 6.5 in this one. It's just, yeah. So when we do the show next week, you will definitely get the first person report about the frustration of the Auburn alumni and alumnae with a very, very bad football team right now.
Oh, Marty, I missed one here. The other big, actually probably the biggest of the games kicking off at noon this coming week. Duke travels to Kansas to play the Jayhawks.
Whew. I thought you were going to say Rhode Island and Pitt. That's also a noon kickoff.
Yes. Duke and Kansas, the battle of the 3-0s. Kansas is a 9, so this would be that fourth win that we're looking for. So they just need to win 2 more to get there.
And Duke, they haven't exactly beaten a who's who of college football, but they are 3-0, and they do have a win over Big 12 or Big 10 opponent in Northwestern, who they beat 31-23.
That's like you beat Northwestern.
Yeah.
I got to go.
Did they get that on a ribbon or an actual trophy?
Ribbon.
Sounds ribbonish.
Some bigger matchups featuring some ranked teams. The Florida Gators, who haven't exactly lit the world on fire after week 1, travel to Tennessee to play the Volunteers, who actually have. This is traditionally a rivalry game marked by 2 teams who are very intense and played really, really well. I'm not so sure this one's going to be that same game.
Tennessee a 9.5 and your total 62, Marty. Yeah, exactly.
Tennessee,
Yeah.
I just have no faith in. Like I see the 11 next to them, and I'm looking at that like, why?
But you're talking about a Florida team that lost to Kentucky at home and then followed up by, they beat South Florida last week, but barely. And it's not a good South Florida team.
Kentucky's,
Oh, Kentucky's pretty good.
they have a solidly coached team, and they've got a lot of blue collar kids that just come to play. You got a Youngstown guy coaching, which is a secret to success.
ask Marty with the Pellinis. Yes, sir, exactly.
The job he did in Youngstown and the way he left them. Ugh, what a turd.
I'm not sure how the Gators held on to their number 20 ranking, but yet here we are. I think Tennessee wins this game, and I think they win it big.
I think it's close.
I think it's close. I'll take the total. I'll go over the 62, but I think it'll be a shootout. But I think Florida covers. It's probably a 7, but I'll take the over as well at that 62 number.
Now, is Tennessee doing special uniforms or anything?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me, but nothing's been announced at this point in time as we record the show.
Because I know they're supposed to have a new version of their off-color unis.
Oh, the dress grays? The
dress grays, the grays for gray's sake.
Yes.
Oh, you mean they're not going full creamsicle?
I mean, that's, if they went checkerboard, I mean, that'd be kind of cool. If they went creamsicle checkerboard like the end zones, that would be awesome.
Oh, they could do that fake, the kick return where the guy lays down in the end zone.
Yes. Absolutely true.
Here's another good matchup for you guys. Arkansas travels to College Station to take on Texas A&M.
They got ATM on the side of the helmet, Phil.
Yeah, how many guys are going to be suspended for that game now? They had 4 suspended for this one.
Yeah.
You had that kid driving like 60 miles an hour in a parking deck.
That's always good.
Live streaming it. So not only is he speeding, but he wasn't even looking where he was driving.
Yeah, that's even better.
So, is he going to be back at all?
Not at the moment. A&M right now is a 2. I've got to go Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Despite the Razorbacks struggling a little bit with the Fighting Petrinos, KJ Jefferson, if he gets on track and gets on a roll, I think Arkansas's got a lot more offense than Texas A&M does right now.
And remember, this one's at Jerry World. This is not in College Station. This is in Jerry World. So this will be it's an interesting.
Oh, and if those kids were leaving the night before to party because it was a night game, what do you think they're going to do in Dallas? That locker room's in shambles. I mean, you have that many guys that go out on a game day, the night before the game, and everybody records every single thing they do in college. So how do you not expect that to get out?
And I'm just no. And I think Arkansas probably with the game with Missouri State was looking ahead to this one. So
yeah, it may have been
why it took them a little while for the engine to turn over. Marty at 7:30, Wisconsin and Ohio State. Ohio State 17.5, and the total's at 56.
So I think they rested those safeties. I mean, not that Wisconsin's going to throw it a whole lot, but they did have their starting running back dinged up, but nobody's gotten. I haven't seen any reports yet on how dinged up Trayvon was, but their first 100-yard rusher this year was their third string running back, so they're kind of deep there.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin. They're decent on defense and slightly better than Iowa on offense.
Yeah, they always have three guys getting drafted as linemen. They always run the ball well.
Yeah, it's kind of what they do. John, here's a game for you, and I have to bring this up.
Of course you do.
The undefeated Florida State Seminoles host Boston College.
Yeah. If this was in Chestnut Hill late in the year, I would say Boston College, just because of the bad juju that always happens when they go up that way. 8 o'clock on ACC Network. As we're talking, FSU 16.5. Your total's 48.5. Remember, it was an injury at quarterback. Tate Rodemaker was taking over at the quarterback position for Florida State. So I don't know if they get to 48.5. Personnel should be there. I don't know if they get to 16.5 because Tate at quarterback, but I think Florida State wins it. I don't think they get to the 16.5. I don't know if they get to the 48 because I don't know how many points Boston College is going to score. So that's how I would look at that one right now.
Marty, we didn't get a screaming rant from him about Florida State. All of a sudden they're showing signs of life.
That's why I was pausing.
No, it is everyone is sitting there saying, quit your bitching, you're 3-0. And no, I'm just waiting for the Jacksonville State moment. I'm waiting for that proverbial shoe to drop. I'm waiting for that moment to happen. So any level of success that the program is currently having, I'm always waiting for them to trip over themselves. This could be a game where they trip over themselves just because. But no, I'm still as fired up as I've always been about not wanting to have Mike Norvell as the head coach of my program. But everybody's like, you're 3-0, quit your bitching. No, I'm still going to bitch. And I probably will all season long. It's just right now, I'm now waiting for that moment when Lucy pulls the football away.
I can identify with that as a guy wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey.
Yes. Got down to the final 2 minutes between two teams, and one of them was the New York Jets.
Guys, anything else you want to hit on here before we wrap it up today?
Yes, developing story out of Arizona State. Herm Edwards is out.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
The CEO has been fired?
Yep. ASU staff members were told Sunday afternoon that he would no longer be the team's coach. Interim head coaching plans not clear as of yet. So it looks like the CEO is DUN.
I'm picturing a round table of a bunch of guys going, not it. They're Rochambeau for that position right now.
And sources close to us here at OSG are mentioning possibly Brian Billick as an interim coach at Arizona State. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go.
I know Herm accumulated a decent roster of former NFL coaches down there in the Valley of the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting.
Yeah. So
a lot of retirement homes down there.
That is true. So we will see a story out of Tempe. That's the biggest. Yeah. So Herm was an understood as a part of the carousel, and he ended up going to the front of the line this weekend.
Yeah, what is our earliest hot seat segment? We're only 3 weeks in.
I think
it was the earliest.
No, it was week 0. We talked hot seat, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked hot seat in the first episode.
but that seats were actually cleared.
Yes. Oh, the seats were actually cleared. No, I think this is the earliest in the history of the show where we've had seats being cleared. I think you're right.
Yeah, and we would have had it last week had we not had to miss the show due to illness by a certain person who's doing a lot of talking today.
Yeah.
Yeah. With all that being said, why don't we put a wrap on things, guys?
Toss to the close before you lose your voice.
Yes. For OSG Nelson, for Brother Marty, I am OSG Phil. We are the online sports guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed what you heard and learned a little bit about what to look forward to in the up and coming week. For more information and more details about what we do, look us up at OSG Sports on the Twitter, on the Facebook, you name it, we're there. Have a great week, everybody, and hopefully we'll be back again next week with a bigger crowd.
Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends.